Yale. The faculty are participating in the demonstration. Yale Faculty for Justice in Palestine. How do you like that?
Wonderful. Yep, that's very clear. Here they are coming closer to you. So we are tuning in live from the campus of Yale University. This is one of the many encampments across the country as this
Say hi
week's
to our
Madafa
audience.
at the Palestine Museum US.
Say hello to our audience here. You're live.
Students are just arriving for today's protest gathering, challenging the investments of Yale University in the state of Israel and the Israeli military that is enabling the genocide on the ground.
This is the marching faculty.
Just an incredible show of solidarity, not only with Palestine, but the faculty supporting the students. Many universities have cracked down on the students. They've suspended them, threatened to not give them credit for their semester. These protests started at Columbia University on April 17th and have since spread across the nation. We know that the president of Columbia University called in the NYPD, arrested students. Each university is reacting differently, trying to hold these elites, the eliteness of these institutions as leverage over their students, but students are not giving in. They're pushing back, continuing. This is the second week of protests. Here we are live at the Green, New Haven Green in New Haven, Connecticut, at Yale University. So students are gathering as they have been for the last 2 weeks. They want transparency from the administration in terms of what their investments are. There are currently negotiations going underway between student leaders and university officials at various universities across the United States. So these are serious, and students at Yale are modeling these protests after the protests of 1968 against the Vietnam War. They have created what they call a liberated zone, which is what students did back in 1968, protesting the war. And what we have today is an awareness, a deep awareness of the ways in which the actions on the ground in Palestine are affecting all of us in terms of how resources are being spent from our institutions, from our government, our tax dollars. And students want transparency. They want a pullout of these investments that are contributing to death and destruction on the ground in Gaza, and they want it now. So during today's Madafa, we will be connecting with some of these students and faculty. You'll be able to hear directly from them. We'll get started in just a few minutes here. Of course, we're already tuning into a live picture there at the New Haven Green. I'll say hello to a few more of our guests here. We have Marina joining us from Washington, D.C., and she was actually born in New Haven and got her master's from Yale. We have Mario joining us from New Hampshire, the land of the Pennacook peoples, and Jana is here from Austin, Texas. Maya is joining us from Germany. Herzlich willkommen, Maya. And we have Habiban Ahmed from Western Maryland. Salam.
You guys have a minute?
Evelyn is joining us from Canton, Massachusetts. Fiona from London, welcome to you. 13th March since October 7th, 300,000 people there in London. Just an incredible epicenter of solidarity with Palestine. In Greenwich, Connecticut, we have Paula joining us. And also Maggie joining us from Christie, Texas. Haitham Azabri is joining us from Austin, Texas, and Tina from Canada. James is here from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma, standing in support of a free and self-determinate Palestine. We have Shirna joining us from the unceded land of the Tongva people, and J.A. is here from Jumana. Oh no, it says I'm Jumana, organizer with the Corpus Christi, Texas Palestine Solidarity Community. Thank you. And we have Eliza Wells joining us from San Jose, California, today in Denver. That's my sister. I'm also tuning in from Denver, Colorado today.
How'd you do that?
I'm usually in Madison, Wisconsin. And this is the ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Ute nations. There are actually 48 different American Indian nations represented here in
Can you be in front of the camera? That's good.
There's more from Jerusalem and Vani from Canada.
Say why you're here. We're joined by somebody who's just coming with a sign here for you to see. You tell us why you're here.
She will need to come closer. We won't be able to hear her.
When you come closer, they can't hear you. You speak really loud. Go ahead, one more time.
Yeah, she's got to be right next to it, Faisal. It's not going to work.
Stay where you are. Try again.
I'm here to support Palestinian liberation and to end U.S. Funding to all weapons. Currently, sorry, I'm sorry.
The genocide in Gaza. How's that? Okay. Thank you so much. Take care. I think we got her a little confused.
Well, it's hard. Just make sure people walk right up to the camera when they speak, because otherwise the phone will not pick it up.
Well, I'm still waiting for our people. It's get a little later.
Yeah, no problem. We'll just continue to
we'll continue to watch.
To welcome everyone.
If I see somebody I know, I'll stop them and have them talk to us. Let's.
So students at Columbia are, want their the endowment investments to stop that are going towards from weapons manufacturers, tech companies that do business with the government of Israel, due to their complicity with the death and destruction in Gaza. So it's so important to voice those opinions. And of course, that is all in solidarity with the history at Columbia. With Columbia University, where this all originally started on April 17th. Really with a deep awareness of the 1968 protests, where several campus buildings were occupied in protests of the Vietnam War. There were hunger strikes at the time. Many universities have divestment processes in place that can be challenged. The students are definitely adamant about challenging those investments in Israel and the Israeli army. Anything that supports the current war effort over there that is just leading to the death of tens of thousands of Palestinians, the complete destruction of the infrastructure in Gaza. I'm sure you're aware of the images, things we have witnessed over the past more than 6 months and counting. So you're seeing a live view from from the New Haven Green, Yale University. We have in process, there was a whole group of faculty who are also in solidarity with the student demands to end divestments in the state of Israel and the Israeli military, also asking for transparency of those investments to see how the money, the endowments of the university are being spent. Some students are calling for cultural boycotts of Israel. They also want impunity for the students who have been organizing. Many students have been suspended. They've been threatened with not getting credit for their classes for the semester, and they want all of those charges lifted so that students can exercise their right to free speech, that universities can continue to play that important critical role in society of, of having honest, healthy debate, shutting down protests on Palestine is not contributing to a healthy debate on this topic. It's actually so many efforts to just conflate any criticism of the state of Israel and its policies with anti-Semitism. As we know, many of the student protesters are actually Jewish students themselves and faculty, and they are challenging that conflation of criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. This is about human rights. This is about the people being able to live with dignity. And so many of those calls are being challenged.
Appropriate, considering.
So again, I'm Krista Brune. I'm a programming volunteer with the Palestine Museum. I usually am tuning in from Madison, Wisconsin. This week I am in Denver, Colorado. These are the ancestral homelands of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, and Ute nations. If you know the history of the indigenous people on the land where you're living, please share that in the chat. It's so important to honor these stories of dispossession. They are not just historical stories. They are current and real stories where lands continue to be confiscated from indigenous peoples, developed people's natural resources are being exploited around the world by more powerful nations or corporations. And that is all connected to what is happening on the ground in Palestine. So JA is on Karankawa land. Thank you for naming that. And Mario says, calling people anti-Semitic is racist in and of itself. It's so interesting, right? The terminology that is selected for different groups. I'll get back to that shortly.
That's not definitely.
Well, I thought you were.
So in the background, you have Faisal. He's going to be connecting with students who are involved in today's protest at New Haven Green in Connecticut, there at Yale University. Tina says the term anti-Semitism has been weaponized to support the genocide of Gaza. So true. I think there are Holocaust survivors who feel that the memory of the Holocaust is being insulted by this conflation.
Do you have a headset for it?
Yeah, I have AirPods.
Of criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. So
Yeah, I can do it. Yeah.
They're not. Oh shoot! I didn't bring them here.
So Hytham says that Austin is the occupied ancestral territory of the Tonkawa, Lipan Apache, Karankawa, Comanche, and the Tican people. And pardon me if I mispronounce any of those names. Those are the indigenous nations. There were hundreds of indigenous nations across North and South America that were all displaced and killed systematically to take over the land and the resources in these
we have our
two territories that we now call North and South America. Hello.
Hi. Can you
How
hear me
you
all right?
doing?
Krista, you hear it?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, thank you. It's great.
Krista, what happened to you?
I'm here.
Oh, it's just through my
You can't
headphones,
hear
so-
me?
You're here?
Yeah, I can hear you
Okay.
though.
Okay,
Should
great.
I go ahead
Welcome.
and introduce myself?
Yeah.
Okay,
Sure, tell
welcome.
us what.
Yeah, my name is Craig. I'm a senior here at Yale University. I'm a member of the steering committee of Yale Youth for Palestine, which is our Students for Justice in Palestine chapter here at Yale. And today I'm here at a very big, very, very important rally on the New Haven Green.
Excellent. So tell me more about what the students are calling for at Yale University and how that connects to other campuses across the country.
Yes, so our primary demands are to disclose, to divest, and to reinvest. So what that means in the context of Yale is for the Yale endowment, for the Yale Board of Trustees to disclose what their endowment is invested in. Yale's very important, particularly in comparison to other schools, because it's a private institution with a $41 billion endowment. So it's very crucial that we know what our school is invested in, particularly given that it's so secretive about its finances. Secondly, with the demand to divest, here at Yale, we're demanding divestment not only from the Israeli occupation, but from all companies involved in war and colonization. And so that's our second demand. And our third demand is to reinvest. And what that means in the context of Yale is for Yale to pay its fair share of taxes to the city of New Haven. Because of Yale's wealth hoarding, obviously that depletes the city, and a big part of our protests and our encampment here has been building solidarity between Yale students and faculty, as well as the workers of the city of New Haven.
Talk to me more about the divestment piece, because you're talking about not only with respect to Israeli occupation, but you're really looking at issues of war around the globe. What other current struggles do you feel this student movement is really connected to and trying to raise awareness about?
Yeah, so we're rooted in anti-apartheid activism that happened in the 80s at Yale in relation to South Africa. And so we're really drawing on that history, making the South Africa and Palestine connection, but also connections to mass incarceration, to mass surveillance, to immigration, to all these sorts of issues that are very present right now. It's particularly important to Yale for Palestine because last academic year, we started our first BDS campaign, which is focused on the British multinational corporation G4S, which is really involved in the private prison industry and surveillance, and particularly immigration as it relates to Britain and the United States. So we're really proud to make those sorts of connections and to really bring in lots of people into our movement that otherwise wouldn't have that sort of personal connection.
Craig, sometimes people ask me, as an American, why should they even care about this issue? Palestine is so far away. Some people feel like, there's been conflict in the Middle East forever. Why is it so important for Americans to care about what's happening on the ground in Palestine and in all these other places around the world where, yeah, you tell me.
Yeah, I think there's two fronts to this. I think first there's the moral and ethical front, right? Our country is more than complicit in this genocide. Our private institutions are complicit in this genocide, but our government in particular is really leading the way when it comes to the genocidal acts being carried out on the ground in Palestine. And so we have an obligation to our brothers and sisters in Palestine to act. I'm really proud to see what's been going on here over the past 2 weeks, because we see what we're doing is having an impact. The people of Gaza are responding to us. They're writing letters, they're sending us videos showing that they're proud of us and that we're finally, doing what needs to be done to really put pressure to move things in this country. So I think it's the first aspect, the moral and ethical front. And then on the more practical and pragmatic front, Palestine is really bringing us together. This issue is getting us organized. For the first time since the movement for Black Lives in 2020, people are really coming together to make a change and to shake up the institutions in this country. And so that's really great. It's bringing people together, and we're finally able to sort of organize ourselves to meet our obligations to ourselves, to change our own and transform our own communities. And that's why this issue is so important. Palestine really is a people's issue. And we hope to mobilize people around it.
You talked about the resources that you want the University of Yale and the endowment to be invested locally in your community. Can you talk more about how important it is for local communities to be supported by our tax dollars rather than what's going on halfway around the world? Why does that especially matter, especially with our elite institutions in the United States?
Yeah, so I go to university, and universities are supposed to be for teaching and learning and the production of knowledge. But unfortunately, Yale as an institution is really focused on more of this aspect of being a corporation rather than a university. And what that means is a lot of wealth accumulation, particularly as it relates to these harmful, extractive, and exploitative industries. And so, as students, we believe it's important to sort of transform the university to shift away from that and to sort of create a new vision for a university, and which the masses of people, not only students with sort of our privileged positions within the academy, but everyone in our communities can stand to benefit from them. That's really what we're fighting for here, and I think in particular when it comes to Yale, because of the arrangements in the state, it doesn't have to pay its taxes. So if it were to pay its taxes, that money could be used to invest in public education here in the city, and housing and infrastructure, and so many other important things. It really would make a huge difference in the city. And so it's important that we make those connections as we're building up this student movement. It can't just be focused on us. It can't be focused on our conditions within academia, but it also has to be connected to the very concrete issues of working people in this city, and really just bringing people together. It's about everything on and off campus here, and especially also just keeping the focus on Gaza too, because we know that there are attempts in the press to really shift focus away from what's going on to the campus culture wars, to chants, to anti-Semitism, to really policing the language of Palestinians. But we really want to keep the focus on our complicity and the role of our the harmful role of our university here in the United States and abroad.
And I wonder, once you mention that, can you just talk a little bit about how you and others have felt the ways in
Krista,
which?
can I interrupt here for a second?
Sure. Yeah.
Krista, can you hear me?
Yes. Tell him I can hear. Tell him I can hear him. I can hear you.
Krista, can you hear me?
Yeah, Faisal's trying to get my attention, but I think, Craig, only you can hear me. Unfortunately, you have to let him know
Okay,
that
I'm
you can
gonna
hear me.
ask him a question and I'll put the audio back, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Are you aware that some of the people in Rafah have been writing slogans on their tents thanking the students for what they're doing?
Yes, I was really proud to see that just last night. Actually, I'm writing a piece for the Yale Daily News, our student paper here, and I was sort of talking about how finally, because of our escalation, we really are making a difference in the lives of Palestinians on the ground in Gaza, and so we're really proud to see that. We're also proud to see through the Sami-Dun Palestinian prisoner network that the student wings of all the resistance organizations also had put out a collective statement in solidarity with the students in the United States. And so, yes, we're really, really proud to see the responses from people in Gaza. And I think it's encouraging us to stand up, to keep moving, and not to be afraid, because we see that what we do here matters. For the past 6 months, the universities and all the other institutions in this country have done their best to try to ignore us and to tell us that our organizing was worthless. But these past 2 weeks have really disproven that.
Craig, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. I was asking you before if you could just talk a little bit about how it feels to be a student on campus and to know that the university administrations across the country are cracking down on students and trying to shut down this show of solidarity with Palestine and this challenge to divestments and all the things that you've been discussing with us today.
Yes, it's certainly scary, particularly as a senior student. Not only is sort of like my academic life under threat right now, but also the threat of graduation that's sort of been put on the table for seniors that could potentially be taken away by the university. Moreover, I'm a student who I'll be attending Columbia University for a master's program next semester. And depending on how things go, that my activism could also sort of jeopardize that. But I think as students over the past 2 weeks engaged in these protests and these encampments, we know that we can't stop, that we can't be afraid, and that we really have a responsibility to keep this movement up. So despite all the threat of arrest, I'm one of the 48 students who was arrested at Yale this Monday. We know we have to keep this going. We can't stop, and that's why I'm out here today to really sustain this movement that we have going on here, to keep bringing people, to keep encouraging students to speak up despite the repression.
And Craig, students historically have played a really central role in making change during the civil rights era, during against the Vietnam War, and other major issues across the country. You mentioned most recently with Black Lives Matter. I wonder if you could just talk about how it feels to have to take the lead as a student. You're in the middle of finals, you're approaching graduation, that your own government is not able to play a leadership role in the ways in which you all are. Can you talk about that?
Well, yes, I mean, to your first point, yeah, it's really shameful that our elected officials have done nothing to seriously change the situation on the ground in Gaza. And as a history student here at Yale, it's sort of amazing, to study all the things that students were doing in the past, particularly in the 50s, 60s, and 70s in this country, and now to sort of be a part of that history. It's striking, it's weighty, it's truly momentous. But I'm proud to be a part of that. I'm proud to see students who prior to October really weren't engaged in activism to sort of be stepping up right now. It's great to see that, and I think it's really changed lives. We're gonna have lifelong organizers on this campus, in the city, and in the country for now on. I think that's important, not only to the people of Palestine, but also to this country. I think we really will be able to change the landscape of this country going forward.
And Craig, you mentioned anti-Semitism. I know there are some students on campuses across the country who say they don't feel safe because of these protests, and yet you have many Jewish students who are in your midst taking a leadership role in these protests. I wonder if you could just talk about what you all stand for and why this is not about anti-Semitism.
Yes, I mean, the anti-Semitism discourse couldn't be further removed from reality here at Yale. It's particularly because Jews and Muslims have been leading the coalition to occupy Yale from the start. We've had, just this past Monday, there was Passover. We had a Seder on across campus to sort of, as a part of our programming. We've had Jummah each Friday together since the beginning of this occupation. We have Maghrib prayer each day on cross campus and on Beinecke Plaza. And so, and our religious students have been a huge part of this. And, these discourses of trying to portray, slogans of intifada, revolution, as somehow anti-Jewish are just really disingenuous and are meant to shift the focus away from the genocide in Gaza that our institutions are complicit in, and then which our government is directly responsible. So despite the smears, we're going to keep going in our activism. We know that the anti-Semitism discourse is a distraction. We know what our values are. We know who our fellow organizers are. And I'm really just going to keep up the work and sort of move past that sort of discourse. We also know that the sort of the most reactionary and far right forces on this campus are the Zionists who pretend to speak for Jewish students, and so we reject that, and we will continue to stand up to and fight those people, and we'll continue to be firm in our pro-Palestine messaging.
You mentioned that the Palestine issue is a people issue. This is a global issue. It affects everyone around the world. And I wonder, I'm sure you know that the dispossession of Palestinians from their homeland is not new. This has been going on since the birth of Zionism over 100 years ago. Why do you think now there's such an outpouring of support? Is it the level of death and destruction in Gaza, or is it a raised awareness? Can you talk about that?
I think it definitely has to do with sort of the scale of what's going on in Gaza. But I think particularly since May 2021 with like the Unity Intifada, what was going on in Sheikh Jarrah and Gaza, I think that sort of was a moment of awakening for people. I know personally that was when I really began to start get organized. Like obviously there was Black Lives Matter But when you combine that with the stuff that was going on in Palestine, that was really, really, really huge. I think particularly because of the relationships we have here with diaspora Palestinians, and sort of them being involved and really speaking up. That really motivated us to take a stand. So I know that's why a lot of us are here right now. I know it's because a lot of our Arab and Muslim brothers and sisters were standing with us during the Black Lives Matters movement. And I think just generally just a disillusionment with elite institutions in this country. People see their struggle for dignity here in the United States, with the Palestinian people's struggle for dignity, self-determination, and national liberation abroad. And I think all of these intersecting struggles are why people are really out here firmly in support of the Palestinian people today.
And I wonder, as an American, if you could talk a little bit about what the United States at its best stands for, and how this movement perhaps can hold our elected leaders accountable for what we supposedly stand for in terms of democracy and freedom and human rights.
Exactly. I think
How does that relate?
The angle is really important. I think we, in the specific context of our university, right? Our Yale slogan is light and truth, and so we really try to hold Yale to that when it comes to disclosure and divestment, with its endowment. In the context of the United States, I think that means yes, these values of freedom and justice and equality aren't being upheld in reality, and it's up to organizers, not just organizers, but also just regular people in the United States, to really take a stand, to hold our elected officials accountable when it comes to these slogans and these ideals. It's a huge part of our messaging, and we're not going to let that go. I think there's a strong attempt to make the Palestinian issue an alien issue, an Arab or Muslim issue, but it's not. It's core to the things that we stand for, and so in order to be a country that's consistent with its values, we have to stand up on this issue, and we have to make it sort of central to the politics of this country.
Can you also talk about how solidarity with Palestine is being singled out? Clearly, there are lots of issues that students support on campus, but the outpouring of the suppression of voices and solidarity with Palestine in general and on campuses in particular has been evident. I wonder if you could just talk about that as well.
Yeah, I mean, things have been incredibly hypocritical. People, there's a lot of talk about, racial justice, racial reckoning at Yale. And a lot of the students and faculty and administrators who sort of use that talk have not really stayed consistent on the issue of Palestine, on the issue of equality and justice and liberation for Palestinians. And so, as a Black American, I really find that disgusting. That's something I have to call out. It's something I have to speak up on. There can't be a sort of justice for Black people in this country without, justice for the Palestinian people abroad. So we really are, we're making that quarter messaging, really trying to do coalitional work, bringing in, Black and Asian and all sorts of other students together in coalition to speak up for Palestinians, because we recognize that they can't be left behind in our politics and our organizing.
And so you're really talking about people having that realization, seeing, kind of connecting the dots across issues. Clearly people in Palestine are suffering from an attack on every aspect of their lives and livelihood. And yet here in the United States, we also there's a lot to be said for our lack of healthcare and housing and access to employment and opportunities. So why are those connections so important? And do you feel they're really resonating in a way that they didn't before?
Yes, I think it's really beginning to start to resonate with a lot of people, particularly now people who don't know much about Palestine and the Arab world. They really feel like this is their issue now. This is something they really have to speak up on, and not just because of what's going on over there, but also that they realize that our institution's complicities in the war is directly related to divestment from our communities. So in order to remedy that, there has to be a change when it comes to policy as it relates to Palestine. We can't fund the things that we need in this country without a change in our foreign policy and how we relate to the rest of the world.
And I know there's been accusations that some of the elements within the solidarity with Palestine are calling for the destruction of the state of Israel, are making Jews less safe in America, are contributing to a rise in anti-Semitism. I wonder if you could also speak to that. I know it's a tall order, but I think it's also so important to name that aspect of the struggle.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it really is important to combat that narrative, because we see that the students that are really under threat at this university are the Arab and Muslim and Palestinian students, and that the majority of Jewish students are standing with us. So we really have to make that clear. I think additionally, this conflation of Jewish people in the Israeli state is also, really the truly anti-Semitic notion that we're trying to combat. We know that, Judaism and Zionism are not the same thing, and that any attempt to position Judaism in opposition to anti-Zionism is incredibly dishonest. So we're continuing to speak up on that and emphasizing that and making that clear to people who otherwise might be misled by some of the narratives they're seeing in the press.
And do you think that the amount of solidarity that's going on across groups and the participation of Jewish students on campus has been almost an invitation for the Jewish community to rethink some of perhaps the ways they were raised, or some of these notions of conflating Judaism with Zionism, of conflating criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism? How are Jews being welcomed into this struggle and as a transformative experience?
Definitely, I think this just from what I've heard from classmates and fellow organizers of mine. The post-October, there's been serious, self-criticism and an internal reflection as it relates to how Jewish identity and Israel are conflated and sort of made to be one thing. And I think there's a lot of important conversations going on within the Jewish community, and I think I'm happy to be a part of sort of not facilitating but encouraging those conversations and supporting Jewish students who are really sort of standing up and sort of putting themselves out there when it comes to being critical of their own people.
And I know that you've been arrested. I don't know if that was by campus police or if Yale brought in the city police. I don't know if you want to talk about that at all, but I wonder how you feel about your own university's support or lack thereof of as you said, the slogan of the university is light and truth. How are they living up to that mission, and how are you helping them perhaps embrace that further with what you all stand for?
Yes, frankly, they're failing in that mission, and I think as students, only 48 of us were arrested, but we had hundreds of people with us bearing witness to the truth. Unfortunately, the university has attempted to shut that down. So we're really trying to sort of hold them accountable on that can't stand. And so, yeah, I think we're really sort of the bearers, right, of this mission of light and truth. The organizers here on the university, and not only organizers, but also, like I mentioned, the faculty that are supporting us, the community members.
Yeah, we noticed as we tuned in today, there was a whole group of faculty coming in to join today's rally. Talk about that faculty support that you do have and how that's affected your ability to sustain this struggle.
The faculty is important in the sense that one, they're holding, some of them are holding their classes. They are the first week held their classes out on Beinecke Plaza. This week, some of them holding their classes out on cross campus. So that's been a way they've been very supportive of us. They've been supportive in the sense that 300 faculty members, I believe, released a letter the other day, calling on the university to drop the charges against us. We've had faculty, bring out food and water for us. Faculty that have helped us communicate with administrators. So yeah, in all of these ways, faculty have been really, really important. We're particularly fortunate at Yale University to have a Faculty for Justice in Palestine chapter. So the faculty here are really organized, and we're fortunate to have that. We saw at NYU the faculty get arrested with the students. And so I think all of these things are really critical to our movement right now, and hopefully we continue to see that.
So what else would you like to share with our audience about what you're doing, what your hopes are? What would you like to see? Are you in direct communication with the administration? Have they met any of your demands? How do you see this playing out?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the university, the only way it's really engaged with us is in terms of telling us what we can and cannot do. Once our occupation moved across campus, they've been really restrictive of the people we can have on campus. We had Linda Sarsour on our campus on Friday, and the university really tried to shut that down. When we had Juma, they were really trying to restrict us in terms of audio and speakers. We had a film screening, the Palestinian film night this week. The university really attempted to try to shut that down. So in all of these ways, the university has continued to repress us without actually meeting our concerns about a ceasefire in Gaza and about disclosure, divestment, and reinvestment. So we're going to continue to push them on that. We're going to continue to occupy space. We're going to continue to escalate until they meet with us on these demands. We can't stop otherwise. So yeah, we look to keep things up until they meet with us, until they seriously engage. When it came to our first occupation, or rather the encampment on Beinecke Plaza, the university did sort of negotiate with us indirectly. They offered us a meeting with 2 members of the Yale Corporation, so 2 people on the board of trustees, and they rejected that meeting because we realize and we understand that that's not serious. We can't let go of this movement we've built, this space that we've constructed. We can't let our community members in New Haven and Connecticut down. Particularly, we can't let the people of Gaza down in exchange for a meeting with not even a majority of the members of the board of trustees, without even a commitment to, at the very least, disclosure. So yes, we're not going to stop until we get serious commitments on our demands.
And I wonder just about you personally, I'm assuming you like money, you're in the middle of finals, you're approaching graduation. How are you coping with this extra burden that you have to carry in order to make historic change?
Yeah, I mean, it's a seriously busy time. I've got final projects, final, not exams, but final papers I have to write, other people have final exams. I'm going to have to run just now because of the rally. But I mean, yeah, there's just so many things going on. But obviously, we have a commitment, and we have a sort of like obligations, as I mentioned, to the people in Palestine. So we really look to keep that up and try to balance that with our work. So yeah.
Well, Craig,
and again,
thank you so much for everything you're doing, for being here, for providing such an, just helping other people understand where you're coming from, you and others, and just for the time and energy that you are putting in to the people of Palestine and the people around the world, for that matter, who are affected by these very policies that you're challenging.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on.
So hopefully we'll join you over at the rally. I'll check in with Faisal.
Yes,
Thanks
hopefully you can
again.
check it
All the
out.
best. All the best to you.
Yes, you too.
Be safe.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna go to the demonstration now too. Thanks so much. We'll chat later. Hi, Krista, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, so I'm gonna go to the demonstration now and give people a closer look. So we're gonna be walking down
Okay.
there.
Excellent.
I'm limping a little, so the camera's gonna limp with me.
Yeah, no problem. So just to fill people in, we've just spoken with one student from Yale University who is, during finals and graduation is coming, and he was sharing with us all of his sentiments about this effort in solidarity with Palestine and also with other peoples and struggles around the world who are affected by militarism and by these investments. From our American institutions, our elected officials. And it's just really a privilege to be able to talk to people on the ground. This is one of many encampments across the United States that have popped up since the encampment began, the first one at Columbia University on April 17th. And today is a big rally here at Yale University. And so we're hoping to kind of check that out. We're on our way walking there. Faisal's live on the ground. And
Krista,
so
the rally is not at Yale University. It's in the center of the city
Okay.
of New Haven. We're in that.
Okay,
in
center
New
of the
Haven.
city of New Haven.
Yeah.
So New Haven Green is actually in the center of the city, and that's where we are, and that's where the rally is taking place today. But of course, there is an encampment on campus that persists, and we're 2 weeks into this student-led expression of solidarity with Palestine, of raising awareness about the huge investments that go into the military that allow for this kind of policy of ongoing death and destruction. We're over 6 months into this, and students are making those connections to other issues around the world, to the ways in which our local communities here in the United States are affected by these investments. The lack of investment in our own healthcare, in our own housing, in our own infrastructure. Why are we putting so much money, billions of dollars overseas? So it was really a privilege to get to talk to Craig, who is a student at Yale University. And here we are approaching the rally.
Krista, can you hear any of the people in the demonstration, or are you only hearing me?
No, I'm not going to hear anything because it's with the microphone only. It'll only come through
I'm
who's right
taking
next
the
to the
microphone out.
iPhone.
And
It probably would be helpful if you find someone else we can talk to one-on-one who can talk about what they're hearing, what they're seeing there on the ground at today's rally.
are you hearing anything, Krista?
Not really, no.
You're not hearing the people?
No, I just have a view of them. Is there a speaker who's speaking or anything? Like just tell us about what's happening. Why don't you do that?
Yelling and screaming. I think the problem is Zoom is kind of editing that as background noise.
Yes.
So
why don't you just talk about what you're witnessing? What do you hear? What do you see? And then maybe we can connect with another person.
A lot of people, and they're chanting and yelling a lot of Palestinian flags, as you can see. I'm trying to zoom in and I'm not able to. Some problem with the Zoom setup. Can you change the view maybe?
Okay, I'll see if I change the view, if that helps. Let me see. I'll remove the spotlight, see if that helps.
Yeah, remove the spotlight. Yeah.
I did. See if you can zoom now, and then I can put it back.
Yeah. I'm not able to. Oh, there we go. I can zoom now.
Oh, there you go. Whoops. Okay.
Okay. What about the sound? Is the sound any better?
No.
You're not hearing anybody?
No.
Let me get closer.
Yeah, there's just some garbled, distorted noise, but not anything intelligible.
because the forces oppressing Palestine are working together with the forces oppressing Israel.
Okay, I can hear that speaker
You can?
a little bit.
How about now?
No, not,
Huh?
no, not really. It's pretty broken up.
Okay, how about if I become the host?
Yeah, well, you can try that, but I think it's just
Make
gonna be
it-
because
make me-
you're going
make
off
me
of
the
the
host.
microphone of the iPhone.
Make me the
Okay.
host.
All right, let me see how to do that.
Go to my name on the list.
Yeah, okay, I did.
Here goes and trains in Israel. They use the same tactic. He was also trained in the school of the Americans, only to go and become the deadliest and bloodiest cartel in history.
Can hear just a little bit. It's pretty broken up.
Understanding that it was Israeli technology.
Make me the host. Hold on a second. Maybe I could do it myself.
I already made you a host. You are the host.
I'm the host.
Yes,
Can you hear it any better?
not really. It's just the iPhone is going to filter out any noise that isn't right next to the phone. So it's just one of those things.
Now we need to figure out how to do that in the future.
No, I agree. Why don't you talk to us about what you're hearing? Why don't you just give us a few highlights?
Yeah, we just see a lot of people standing, a lot of flags, a lot of signs everywhere. And there's some people at a podium speaking with microphones and loudspeakers. There's some TV networks here. We just passed Channel 8 here. One of the most biased networks around. It's the ABC network. They tell lies to everybody. And when they interviewed me, they sat on my interview for 2.5 months before they published it, and they made a mess out of it when they published it.
Is that right? Well, it's important to hear from all voices, and certainly people are hitting the streets because their voices are not being heard necessarily in the media. So that's why we're seeing such an outpouring of support across the world.
Did you make our picture the big picture?
Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that again. Let me. Well, now you're the host. I can't.
Go to the panelists and click on the dots next to my name and do it there.
And I wonder on how to do this on a collective level. I heard movement faces about the need to slow down, even in this moment of
Let's see.
to slow down and listen to your comrades and hear that deep down, even.
I did it myself. Don't worry about it.
I just pinned it. Okay, well, one of us did it. Okay.
Even when our approach is very.
Well, I think Craig raised such important points about the moral and ethical imperative to speak out against what's happening on the ground in Palestine right now, the complicity of US and private institutions, how the United States is really leading the way toward that genocide. And that is what people here and elsewhere are challenging. And we've heard about how grateful people in Gaza are for the support, this outpouring of support. Americans, students, you know, many of them in vulnerable positions, taking that risk of being arrested, challenging their institutions, their government, to make a change in policy and investments, to be more transparent in how they're spending those endowments. And they're saying they're not going to back down until they get some response from the
Krista,
university.
we need to wrap it up. We need to wrap it up in a minute.
Okay, sounds
here.
good. All right. Well, it's just incredible to be able to be there on the ground. Not everyone is near such an outpouring of support. And so we appreciate all of you tuning in today to this week's Madafa live in New Haven, Connecticut. These are Yale students and faculty at a rally, live coverage. So we're just honored that you chose to spend your time with us today. Again, I'm Krista Bruin, a programming volunteer with the museum, tuning in from Denver, Colorado. And we are just so thankful for all of you to be with us today. We look forward to seeing you in our future programming, our weekly films on Saturdays and our Madafa conversations on Sundays. Stay tuned for next week's program. We will be announcing that throughout the week. And again, thank you for joining us today.
This looks good. This is our Madafa program. We did it live.
I missed your invitation.
Yes, hi. You want to say hello?
I just sign all the time.
River to the sea.
Almost free.
Palestine is almost free. Let me know if you need anything. Okay, Krista. Everybody, thank you so much for being with us. We're going to be
All right.
ending the program. Like we say, ma salama.
Okay. Ma salama, everyone. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.